The three aha moments I wanted to share with you. The first one was at a board meeting, much like this, presenting a few butterflies. And for me, it was such an aha moment because in front of the board, as a marketer presenting what we're doing, and I had to handle all the numbers. I knew we were spending money wisely, getting opportunities, but what the board wants to know, what they wanted to know from me, was if we put X dollars into marketing next year, will we get Y dollars back? Right? And not just will you get it back, but when will you get it back? Right? Will it actually work? So the analogy I use often is, if your CFO met you in a dark alley and gave you a suitcase of cash and said, wait, you can only have this if you promise me what I'm going to get back from it and why. All of us would walk away and say, no, you keep the cash. I can't tell you when I'm going to get it and with any precision. So that's the aha moment, was despite all that work and all that preparation, I wasn't, and it wasn't like I failed. I mean, the board bought my presentation, but I was making guesses on some of the things that I know in my heart and in my head are very knowable. Right? For example, just even historical analysis, forget forward-looking, even just understanding what was the velocity conversion, et cetera, of stuff that you've already done. Those are hard to answer for marketers. And that felt weird to me because I knew that it was something that I should know. So that was the aha moment number one.
All marketing is revenue marketing. I know we're spending a lot of time today talking about demand generation, but the fact of the matter is that today we could measure a lot more than we measured in the past. In the past, it was too difficult for us to connect the dots between marketing activities and the results that came out of them. Today, everybody in the marketing organization can more or less figure out where they sit on the path to revenue. This came to a head for me a couple of years ago when I had to sit my director of demand generation down with my director of advertising and point out to them that they were about to sign a contract, an overlapping contract, with the exact same media outlet. Not good, not good. Another example, PR. Back in the day, we used to resign ourselves to the fact that it was nearly impossible to measure the influence of PR. So we started counting things. We counted up interviews and articles and product reviews, thinking that that was a way that we were going to show success. Well, today, there's technology out there that can help us directly measure the impact of not just PR, but social, because now they're one and the same. Not just to leads, but all the way through to revenue. PR teams are having a lot of fun these days. Product marketing, another example. Product marketing teams no longer have to throw their hard work over the wall and hope that it sticks somewhere. Today, everyone in product marketing can measure everything that they do, both for reach and for adoption at any point in the buyer's journey. Product marketing most definitely is also on the path to revenue. So marketing, we're touching buyers from the very beginning of their journey. And we are now able to measure things beyond the old stuff, which was creativity and out-of-the-box thinking. Wow, awesome event. You must have a great marketing team. Now our activities are placed in the larger context, and we can have more and more visibility into their impact on the organization. It's a really good place to be. So the new world, in this context, marketing activities are judged by whether or not we won the business. Bottom line, that's what it comes down to. So to me, that sounds pretty familiar. Last I heard, that was pretty much exactly how you measured the success of a sales organization. So yeah, all of marketing is now revenue marketing. This is a pretty seismic shift for us, and it means that we have to expand our competencies. We have to get better at a lot of things that we didn't have to do before. We're smack in the middle of the sales cycle now. We start the conversation, and then when it gets really interesting, we conference sales in. And we don't leave anymore. We have the opportunity to stick with them all the way through the end of the cycle. And when it closes, we get to take partial credit for the win, and we also take partial responsibility for the loss. This is new territory for us, and we have to get better at some things if we're going to be aligned with the sales organization moving into the future. So here's my argument, that in order to achieve true synergy between sales and marketing, we have to jump the line. We have to make the mental leap over to their side. We have to not only get better at what we're doing, but we also have to get better at understanding what they're doing. and what it really takes to convert a prospect to a customer.
So Cisco has been on the revenue marketing journey for just about 2 years now. In fact, I was doing the math. If revenue marketing started in 2010, I think Cisco embarked on the journey right around there. So I guess we were early starters. And as part of the journey, I'm in environments like this where I'm with my peers in the industry or marketers in the industry, and I always get the question, how did Cisco ground revenue marketing? What was your secret sauce? Well, I can tell you the first 6 months that we were on our revenue marketing journey, my answer varied. It depended on the win of the week, the win of the day. But now I can say with absolute confidence, the success that Cisco's had on its revenue marketing journey is grounded around training, education, and enablement, whatever it is that you want to call it. And what I mean by this is that we actually, out of the gate, thought about how do we get our key stakeholders engaged, motivated, and inspired to join this revenue marketing journey with us. It was not about putting together a training curriculum, a series of webinars, events. It was not about bringing people into a meeting, sharing with them a common taxonomy. It was about inspiring. It was about motivating. And just like many of us as marketers, we had to be smart about who we targeted. We had key stakeholders that we needed to make sure were going to join that revenue marketing journey with us, that they were going to be motivated and inspired to join us.
"20 years ago, I got started in marketing. My job was entirely different. I was very much focused on the product side of the house, on messaging, on positioning, moving the 3 microns up to the right of the Gartner Magic Quadrant. And then about a decade ago, my job really began to change. And it started becoming much more data-driven and much more data-oriented. And I began a journey of what I call moving on, becoming more of the data artist. And that's a little bit what I'm going to walk through today. So it changed because we had new tools. Having a website was a real new change because suddenly you're able to actually see how are prospects coming to you? What are they doing after they do? Where does their interest lie? You started having marketing automation platforms like Mark's Eloqua platform as well as Marketo, and suddenly you could start tracking prospect behavior. You also had sort of the ubiquity of CRM. Salesforce automation had been around for a while already, but started getting extended beyond just sort of the sales silo and being used by others throughout the organization, especially with the adoption of Salesforce.com. So you're able to start seeing, watching prospects move through the different sales stages. All of these things had the commonality that you could measure and you could track, and you could see the repeatability of different buyer behavior. So suddenly, I could start seeing where, for the first time, marketing is actually generating leads that actually would impact the pipe. And so my vernacular began to change. I started spewing out terms like CTR, CPR, CAG, and I had a whole new language I was talking about. And I was myself becoming much more data-driven. Now, the big result of this, and what I've seen, I continue to live through on a day-to-day basis, is that the silo of marketing and the silo of sales have moved into this new kind of gray area. And where marketing leaves off and where sales picks up is not as clear-cut and it's not as well-defined.
The modern marketing role, as we all know it, is now something more substantial. We're marketing scientists, right? I think I heard John from Marketo talk about being marketing scientists. We're engagement geniuses, so there's the left brain, right brain that goes along with it. The content ninjas, one of my favorite speakers is Scott Brinker, and he talks about being agile. So as the world changes minute by minute, hour by hour, making sure you have content that is on top of whatever the news is right at that moment. Winter storms, for instance, in this case. We are conjoined with technologies, and I use the word conjoined because there's the whole CMO, CTO, CIO merge, And I know that some companies still operate with a pretty separate CIO, CTO group and role, but more and more, I mean, it's just technologies. Technologies are what dominating, at least my experience as a marketer. They were conversion focused, right, which goes back into the funnel views, especially on the B2B side, which we all are, I think, in this room. And then lastly, we're results driven. Now that may have been the case the entire time, but for marketers to be results driven, that was a fairly big change, especially within this company, but I think overall and over the past few years. After a course of redefining the sales pipeline through Salesforce and using all kinds of analytic tools and so forth, we got to a point where now that funnel is 100% defined by marketing. And that definition by marketing means that I am now responsible for not only MQLs, but SQLs all the way through. And of course, there's the equality there. But the win in the CEO's head is now that marketing is responsible for 16% of the budget, and that is just for marketing, not sales as well.
There's 3 basic steps when you want to align. It's building it together. So you're building your models, you're building your process, and you're building that partnership with sales. 2, you're transparent in results. And 3, you have habitual communication. So if I dive in to build together, the very first thing I need to figure out with the team was the buyer's journey. What did that look like at DocuSign? Now I had some ideas. There's tons of models out there. Learn, evaluate, negotiate, purchase, and advocate. Multiple different stages that you've seen. So for us, what did that mean? What was the content we had available for that? So putting this, I did a simple spreadsheet. I didn't have cool tools like Kapost and some of the other ones out there when I joined. So I took a basic spreadsheet. I put this, buyer's journey, and then I started to add in the assets that made sense to get them through the gates. But I didn't know all of it. I went on the internet, I talked to people, and when I mean internet, DocuSign site to get content. Everyone says we don't have content, but if you go to anyone's website, there's a ton of content. It's just not that well organized maybe. So mapping that out, and then meeting with sales. What am I missing? When you're on the phone, what content do you pull up to talk to? For DocuSign, security is a big deal. These large companies want to know that we have a secure solution. The second thing that's a big deal is legality. Is electronic signatures legal? Yes. In 2000, they were legal in the United States by the E-Sign Act with Clinton. And so where's that content for them to be successful to get through that? And building what I call that map out. And then understanding the lead life cycle. There's so much value understanding, drawing out a Visio diagram, how leads get to marketing, whether it's through your website, which is a majority, whether it's an event, whether you're doing third-party syndication and you're taking those leads and loading them, what happens to those leads? Does sales know what happens? Do they know the scrubbing process that you go through? Do they know, we use Eloqua as our platform. When we load them, do they know there's concepts of scoring that we're going to build with them? Then when do they sync over? Do we push all the leads over or some of the leads? When they get in there, I need to understand from sales ops and sales, how are they processing them? How do the leads get assigned? Are they territory? Are they industry? Are they round robin? What's the code behind that? And then when sales gets them, how do they mark them as qualified? All of that is really important and actually helps you figure out where the hiccups are and helps you build that relationship because all of a sudden they see what your pain is and you see what their pain is.
You may not agree about content marketing, but there's one thing that we can agree on. Let's say, would you agree that the quickest route from A to B is a straight line? So that's easy. It's hard to argue with. So just for a second, consider if A is your prospect and B is the revenue, I'm going to say the straight line is the buyer's journey. And we all get it. Content is supposed to align very specifically to the buyer's journey. And that we need to produce tons of really compelling thought leadership content that's aligned to that buyer's journey, right? But you've got to ask yourself, are you really aligning your content to the buyer's journey? Are you really delivering volumes and volumes of content, and are you really able to get to the thought leadership that you're really looking for, the meaty content that you really should be delivering? Let's face it, this is not easy. Now, I'm sure this doesn't happen for you as it relates to content marketing, but back at the ranch for me, whether it's at the Fortune 1000 company I recently was at or the startup, we kill ourselves developing tons and tons of content, right? For me, I'll admit, thought leadership is pure torture. Maybe it runs through your organization quite naturally, but thought leadership is not easy. Would you agree? And the other aspect is that blogs, for example, blogs are easy in my opinion. And I appreciate the value of blogs, but nothing makes me more crazy than a rogue blog. That is a blog that has nothing to do with this journey that we're trying to take. A blog that isn't aligned to the journey, and a line that doesn't have a strategic place to play in the strategy. So what do? We go off and we create tons and tons of content along this journey. White papers, ROI tools, we're doing webinars, best practices, infographics are here. It is all over the place, right? There's just tons of it. The way I think about content is I want to actually produce as little as absolutely necessary. So when you think about all the content that we're developing, you got to ask yourself, what does that journey look like for your prospect? You got to ask yourself, are you taking your buyers on this wild ride? So on that wild ride, which you got to admit, that could be happening. On this wild ride, I would argue that you are not attracting more of the right buyers. I would argue that you're actually dragging out the sales process. You're not accelerating that sales process. And I would argue that along this crazy wild ride, I suspect you're actually losing buyers along the way. So here's what I'm proposing. What if you had a content marketing strategy that led your buyers on a more direct route? What if you were able to lead your buyers on a shorter path? What if you had core content? So this is the meaty, compelling content that we need. And that you design your content in such a way that it aligns very specifically to the buyer's journey. So that you have core content that really attracts in the awareness phase. You have core content that really engages in the education phase. And that you have core content that really differentiates your solution in the selection phase.
If this is what we do, if we focus on making a great experience for advocates, then we're going to get a lot more activity from them, and that's what's going to drive our sales opportunities. So that's kind of the process of discovery that I went through. I want to talk a little bit about alignment and success. So revenue marketing. I love revenue marketing. I didn't coin the term. If someone were to ask me what I think it is, it's about the systematic generation of demand, right? Measurable and repeatable process for doing so. So can advocates help out with that, right? Yeah, absolutely, right? Let's talk about referral leads. Referral leads are by far the best quality leads you can generate, worth more than 10 times more than a normal lead, right? They close a lot faster, they have a higher order size, and they're more likely to advocate themselves, right? So some interesting numbers that came even from us and some of our customers over the last few months. 3% of the leads that we've generated in the last little while have been from referral leads, but 18% of our qualified pipeline, 32% of our closed deals. If you look at your own, you'll find some very similar things. So referral leads are so valuable. What are we doing to actually generate more of those, right? Not only that, though, but advocates are useful not just for generating direct leads, but think about all the different things you do in marketing and how they might be able to benefit. So content marketing is my favorite thing to pick on these days, right? So we go and we generate all this content. Who's helping to get that through the social filter, right? Who's helping to make that aware to folks? Who's voting it up? Who's sharing it? Who's generating all that mojo for Google and all that kind of stuff? I mean, it's your advocates to do all that kind of stuff.
When you're interviewing folks to be on the team, these are some of the questions I use. You can come up with your own questions, but these are some guidelines. I think it's important to ask your candidates, how much did they contribute to the overall number when it comes to revenue? I think it's also equally important to ask your marketing candidates, how would sales judge the quality of your leads? If they can't answer that, that's a big miss. What you want to find out is how closely aligned these folks were with sales. You want to know that there was a relationship, a connection, an understanding of the process. And you need to make sure that you interview for these specific things. This is a passion point for me. I believe so much in being out on the field. In fact, we're going out with a customer tonight. I think that if marketing is not in the field, then they're not effective marketers. Red flags to look for. When you're interviewing folks and they start being very ambiguous about numbers or saying, well, our open rate was this or our close, that's where you want to pass. You want to make sure that they really understand the connection to their activity and to revenue. If they talk about marketing and sales as silos, you might as well just stop the interview there. Because if someone's talking about marketing and sales operating in silos, I would turn on them and say, what did you do to change that? And put them on the spot. Because if they actually made a good effort towards that, then maybe there's some credibility there. But if they felt like marketing and sales were operating independent of one another and they didn't do anything to change that, then shame on them and don't hire them. If these folks that you're interviewing didn't go on customer visits or prospects, I would also pass.
What it comes down to is we are science-based marketers. We're ruthless in that decision making. Everything's about the numbers, and numbers are not leads and nurtured leads and new leads and all that good stuff. It's actually about ROI at the end of the funnel. We also believe, and I'll talk about this a little bit, revenue marketing and good marketing nowadays, that's great to use data to inform every part of your demand gen mix and your marketing mix. You actually have to move data into other parts of the marketing mix. So your messaging should be informed by data you have out there. Your website should be informed and shaped by the data you have out there. Your target market components and choices should be informed by that.
Many of us work as part of global marketing organizations, or our companies sell into different countries around the world as global sales. And we'd like to understand the return on our global marketing strategies. But can you measure the effectiveness of your marketing programs in dollars and in euros and in all the different currencies you sell into? Are you able to tell if the marketing programs that work in North America are also moving the needle in Europe or in Latin America or the places you sell into? For many of us, those are hard questions to answer. And so we wind up running one-size-fits-all marketing campaigns. We do a marketing program, we put it out there, and we kind of hope that it's going to be effective across all the different markets that we sell into. But we don't always have the insights to know if that's the case. But these are important questions to ask. So today I'm going to tell you about my journey asking these questions and looking for answers. And the journey I'm going to tell you about is my time as CMO at the Taz Group. The Taz Group is a cloud software company focused on improving sales effectiveness for businesses. And it's a global company. It's got offices and people in many countries around the world. The headquarters for the company is actually here in the US. It's in Seattle. But the largest base of operations is in Dublin, Ireland. And my marketing team was spread across the US and also in Ireland. And when I joined the company, the team was very busy doing all kinds of marketing activities. They were putting on webinars and going to events and doing some social, but I couldn't measure the impact of what they were doing on the revenue of the company. And I couldn't tell how that was impacting different regions of the world. So I really wanted to answer some basic questions. I wanted to find, how does marketing contribute to the sales pipeline? Like specifically, what are we bringing to the pipeline and how are we doing that? What was the revenue impact of marketing and how did that compare across our global markets, all the regions we sold into? So I set out on a journey to globalize marketing accountability. And like any journey, you start by saying, here's where I am today, and what's my destination, and what's the best path to get there. But sometimes we don't really know what the best path is. So I chose to focus on two key areas, on the people, that is the marketing team, and the data. We could do lead nurture campaigns. I could do lead scoring and share some insights with the sales team. We had better analytics, better insights. And now we were able to start making some connections and connecting the dots with our data and learning really what was in there. And we could start to see, for example, every marketing program and campaign and channel that we did, how that impacted what went into the sales pipeline and what impacted revenue. And we could see it across different regions. We could see how much the webinars were bringing in dollars versus euros versus other currencies. We could see this for all of our marketing channels. It gave us great insights globally. It also helped us understand all the marketing touch points along the evolution through sales and through marketing and sales.
I'll give you a couple stats and what happened over this 4-year run at Forrester. The win rate from SQO to 1 went from 15% to 28%. The number of days between opportunity and close went from 180 days to about 70 days. And the quota per salesperson went from about 900,000 to 1.3 million. So the stock price of those 4 years went from $13 a share to $34 a share.
This is the way we were doing marketing before, like from a B2B side. This is 5 years ago, 5 to 10 years ago. This is the way we were going to market with our sales folks. The world has changed, and this is the way we do it today, through automation. I call this a marketing revolution. The way we go there, and if you have to organize that revolution, I would put it around 4 pillars. First one is life cycle. We think now about the buyer journey. We think about the content strategy, the communication strategy, the segmentation strategy. The other one is automation. We want to automate the world. As in charge of demand gen, I would love for sales rep not to send email anymore. I think everything should be automated, especially for customers, and especially being in a SaaS business. So building scoring, building nurturing, enabling the sales rep through reporting and dashboard, and enabling the marketers across the organization. The third pillar for us is insight. Moving from data to intelligence, from big data, everybody has data, so that's not really the challenge, to smart data, to get salespeople more effective. And the last one is talent. I think we are just getting started. We are here to explore the marketing cloud, a little bit cheesy, but I believe this, and we define the future. And now I'm going to explain what's going to change. 2 things are going to change. Whatever you built, you're going to have to reinvent it for 2 reasons. The first one, scoring is the past. Okay, now we talk about propensity model. Scoring is like, so last week, you need to think and define how you're going to move from scoring to propensity model, matching back to the buyer journey for every single stage. And this is not easy. Being able to predict, not anymore to score and say, we think it's going to convert, is moving to a world of prediction. Okay, that's one. It's going to disrupt everything you've done so far. The second one is account-based marketing. We all think we do account-based marketing. We don't. I don't know of anybody here or like personally that has successfully executed on account-based marketing. Today we do contact-based marketing, and for an ego view, we see, oh, yeah, we do account-based marketing. No, account-based marketing is being able to nurture everybody at an account level, like nurture through multi-channel, delivering the right content at the right time to the right people through the right channel, depending on who they are in the organization, and nurture all those people in multiple dimensions. This is going to disrupt, I'm not going to say break, this is going to disrupt whatever you've done so far and invite you to think of a new world.